Well, if I want to go back to the beginning, I guess I'd have to. I was born and raised in a small town in Canada, Timmins, Ontario, and my parents. I come from a musical family. My mother was a singer and performer, and so she started us on piano when we were very young. So I guess it all started back then. You know, it was a small, I grew up in a small town and we didn't really have a music program until high school. So in high school, I remember very clearly the band director had to teach all of the instruments. And so on the first day of class, he put all the instruments out on a table and one by one he played them all. And then we had to choose which instrument we wanted to play. And I remember him picking up the trombone and playing, and I just fell in love with the sound, you know. And so I started playing the trombone then. That would have been in the 9th grade. And then I went on to university and studied music, and that's where it all started, I guess.
That's great.
I remember my first horn and my first band concerts, and so that's where it all started. Then I went and studied down in the big city of Ottawa and Montreal, and then I went on to my career. Well, I guess it's when I decided, or when I realized that it's about the only thing that I could do. So I decided to become a musician because I wasn't very good at anything else. No, that, well, no, I always loved playing. Through high school, I was always busy doing musical things, you know, with the drama group or the band, or, you know, playing in a rock band and playing at weddings and you know, back then, you know, I come from a very small town, and we didn't have, you know, I have 3 kids now, and they've got TV and video games and so many things, and there wasn't that much, you know, growing up, and so we had to find our own way to have fun, and music was a big part of our lives, and you know, I had a little band that played, and you know, so I was always very involved in music, and so when it came time to go to university, I think it was an easy choice for me to make, you know, and my brothers also are musicians, so right around the same time we decided that we were going to go into music, and once I started in university, I started to see what the opportunities were. And again, back then, there were more opportunities for live music, I think, than there are now. And so we were very involved in, you know, in the community playing. And then I realized that orchestral music was a viable career option for me. And, you know, I started auditioning for orchestras, and that's how I got started. That's how it all got started.
That's great.
The biggest challenge, well, a lot of challenges. I think, you know, once I decided to become an orchestral musician, once I realized that that's what really turned me on, that's what I really loved doing. Obviously, the big challenge was winning an audition.
That's right.
So that sort of presented itself with all sorts of challenges, and I realized that I had to be very focused on that one challenge. If I was gonna make it into an orchestra, and I realized also that, you know, once I made it into an orchestra, you know, I would have I'd be able to support myself and start thinking about, extending to other projects and maybe doing some solo playing. But I knew I had to get that job to be able to pay my bills, So I really sort of, absorbed the challenges of winning an audition, and that's a whole set of specific things that you have to, you have to learn specific orchestral excerpt. You have to really become familiar with the orchestral repertoire and, ensemble playing and, that kind of thing. So I really focused on that, and I was lucky enough to win a job at, right out of university in the Calgary Philharmonic, and then I moved on to the Toronto Symphony, and then finally to the Montreal Symphony, where I spent 15 years. So that's how it all got started.
Yeah.
Well, I think what comes to mind is as a professional and also as an adult, I guess, as a parent, is managing my time. I think that, for me, that's my biggest challenge. When you're young and you're in school and, you have all this time, you don't realize how much time you have, and once you start working and maybe start a family, you realize how much time you had and how much, and now you have no time. So my biggest challenge is managing my time and putting in the time because, you have a relationship with your instrument, and any relationship needs, you have to spend time, you have to nurture the relationship, you have to stay connected to the instrument. And so one big challenge really is to set aside time where you can just make sure that everything's working on the instrument. And, once you get into an orchestra, it's easy to sort of fall into a rut where you just show up at work and you play what's put on your stand, and you're playing the, Dvorak's 8th Symphony for the 200th time. And so it's easy to kind of fall into a rut where you just kind of go through the motions, So for me, I know I need to keep sharp by doing other things. So setting up recitals for myself, and, because nobody's going to come to you and say, hey, Pete, I want to send you off on a 20 concert tour and a 5 CD contract, and, nobody's going to do that. You have to put these things together yourself. And so that's a big challenge, to stay fresh, especially as a principal player in the orchestra, where you have to play solos. You have to make sure that you're working at setting these things up, and as I said, like, really, and sometimes it's hard. You got 3 young kids, by the time you put them to bed, you just want to flop into bed, but you realize that you haven't played much that day, so you have to, go downstairs and spend an hour or two, getting things done on your horn. So for me, that's the big challenge, is time management and creating my own musical projects. Well, I think of course, it's the performances, the great performances.
That's right.
That's really what it's all about. I think one of the great rewards is the opportunity to sit beside and enjoy performances of other great musicians. And for me to go to work every day and to hear these beautiful solos from these wonderful musicians in my orchestra and in the orchestras that I played with before is so rewarding, and it motivates you to improve and to keep up, and so really that's what it's all about for me. And when we go on tour, when the orchestra tours, of course the level goes up even more. And when you put a great conductor and a great orchestra and a great hall and a great audience, when you put those things together and these magical things happen, that's really when you say, my God, I'm so lucky to be doing what I'm doing, you know. And when that happens, you know, it's really extremely rewarding. Good question, good question. Well, obviously you have to love what you're doing. You have to really enjoy. You can't be in it because, you know, for any other reason that, except that you really want to do it and you really enjoy playing music and it's really, really within you. It's inside of you. And you can't, you know, I mean, I have 3 young kids and, you know, they take piano lessons and, you know, and sometimes I scream at them and tell them they have to practice. And then I tell myself, well, look, you know, if they really, I'm not going to be able to force them to be musicians. You know, I can give them the opportunity, but ultimately they have to really want to do it. They have to love the whole process. So that's, you know, number one. You know, obviously, you have to be disciplined. You have to work hard. You know, you have to be really honest with yourself. You know, you have to really recognize what you do well and what your challenges are. And I think that's a really important thing, to understand your playing and to not waste time on things that you do well. You know, kids come in to lessons and they say, well, I've got this big problem, you know. And, you know, and I try and tell them, you know, and more often than not, it's just a slight adjustment they have to make in their playing. But they've created this big wall. They put this big wall in front of them because they, you know, and I think it's important to understand what your weaknesses are, and don't treat them as big problems, but just treat them as challenges. And, you know, work your way around them. Always go to, you know, seek advice from professionals and listen to great players, you know. And that's how we learn, is we learn by absorbing from great players, like osmosis, you know. We learn by absorbing everything we can from great players. So, you know, and searching out the best teachers. And so to say the single most bit of advice I can give, I think it's a little bigger question than that. But that's sort of, I guess that's it in a nutshell, you know. Really the love of playing, that's the most important thing. Well, my relationship with Yamaha started, I believe, about 5 or 6 years ago. And it was an opportune moment because I was playing on an instrument that was kind of at the end of its shelf life, you know. It was ready to be sent out to pasture, you know. And at the same time, I was contacted by the people at Yamaha in the U.S., and they proposed to put together an instrument for me. And it sounded like a great, you know, opportunity, and I was very interested. And as I said, I was sort of looking for a new horn anyway. So we embarked on this project with Bob Malone and the folks up in Grand Rapids. And really, from the beginning, it was just such a pleasant experience. It was a real sort of family atmosphere, you know. And I really got the sense that everybody was really just looking to build something great, to put something great together, you know. And there was no demands put on me to, you know, take this is going to sound good, or take that, you know, nothing like that at all. It was like this building process where we had all these components, and it was like, let's just put this great horn together, you know. And so from the beginning, it was kind of a family atmosphere, and I really dug that. It was really nice. And so over the course of a year or two, we put a horn together. Well, I say we. I mean, I was the guinea pig, really. But you know, you know, we put a horn together that I've been using in the Pittsburgh Symphony ever since. And and it's a great horn, and I love playing it. And the folks at work seem to like how it sounds, and so it's been a really pleasant experience and a really fulfilling one, and it's given me the instrument that I need in my orchestra. Aside from that, obviously, the relationship has continued, and I've had the opportunity of meeting, you know, some great people, engineers, and really bright people, and when I come to Japan, I get that same sense of family and just this desire to always improve the instrument, you know, and it's fun to be part of that. I really enjoy being part of it, and also to come to Japan and to meet all these people and these students. You know, I've made so many friends, and it's really been a lot of fun. And as I said, you know, I've got an instrument that I feel is like an extension of my voice. It's part of my voice as a musician, you know, and even today, this morning, I was over there trying, because they're experimenting with different lacquers and stuff, you know. So it's this ongoing process, and it's fun to be part of it. And also, you know, they're always there to help me out when I've got performances in the U.S. And you know, they're always there to help out sponsoring those things. And so for me, it's been a fantastic experience, and hopefully it'll continue into the future.